Lesson 9, Dialogue for Comprehension. Lunch with Mr. Morrison. Listen to this dialogue until you can understand it easily. Learn the new words. Mr. Morrison has invited Jim and his fiancée, Jane Stockton, to have lunch with him. They are seated at a table in the Fireside Restaurant.
I was certainly pleased to hear that you two have decided to get married. Have you set a definite date for the wedding yet?
No, not yet. We've talked about having the ceremony in early August, but we haven't decided on a date yet.
Jim, I still haven't found any good way to take care of your work during August, and I have an idea I'd like to discuss with you.
Yes?
Well, in short, if it would be possible for you and Jane to postpone your marriage until September, the Morrison Travel Agency will pay for a 2-week honeymoon trip to Hawaii for you.
Oh, Mr. Morrison, how wonderful! How could we ever thank you?
Now, if you two want to take a few days and think this over, that'll be fine with me.
I don't think we need to talk about it, Mr. Morrison. This is very generous of you, and we'd be foolish not to wait.
Yes, Mr. Morrison. We're delighted. We'd be happy to wait until September. Thank you.
Well, don't thank me. Thank the Morrison Travel Agency. Now, let's order, shall we?
Pronunciation. Medial consonant clusters in 2-syllable words. Repeat these words in pairs.
Porter, order. Party, garden. Market, bargain. Marcher, larger. Helping, elbow. Bulky, Olga. Walter, folder. Sulfur, silver.
Repeat these words in pairs.
Mr. Wisdom.
Whisper, husband.
Christmas. Business.
Nancy, pansy.
Aspirin. After.
Western, question.
Asking. Faster.
Taxi, lecture.
Repeat these sentences. Dexter has an extra one. Mildred is seldom welcome. Patsy was absent on Tuesday. Barbara had money problems in April.
Practice drills and exercises. 1. Negation of infinitive. Substitute. Listen to the models.
1.
We'd be foolish to wait.
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 To go.
We'd be foolish to go.
We'd be foolish to go.
We'd be foolish to go.
Now do the exercise.
We'd be foolish to wait.
We'd be foolish to wait.
To go.
We'd be foolish to go.
To discuss it.
We'd be foolish to discuss it.
To tell you.
We'd be foolish to tell you.
To wait.
We'd be foolish to wait.
2.
We'd be foolish not to wait.
We'd be foolish not to wait.
Not to go.
We'd be foolish not to go.
Not to discuss it.
We'd be foolish not to discuss it.
Not to tell you.
We'd be foolish not to tell you.
Not to wait.
We'd be foolish not to wait.
3.
Why did she decide not to go?
Why did she decide not to go?
Not to tell us.
Why did she decide not to tell us?
Not to get married.
Why did she decide not to get married?
Not to think the idea over.
Why did she decide not to think the idea over?
Not to go.
Why did she decide not to go?
Two, negation of infinitive. Take the part of speaker B. Follow the models.
1. Have you decided to go?
No, I've decided not to go.
No, I've decided not to go.
No, I've decided not to go.
2. Do you think it'd be better to leave?
No, I think it'd be better not to leave.
No, I think it'd be better not to leave.
No, I think it'd be better not to leave.
3. Would it be stupid to tell her?
No, it'd be stupid not to tell her.
No, it'd be stupid not to tell her.
No, it'd be stupid not to tell her.
Now do the exercise.
4. Would you prefer to go to the party?
No, I'd prefer not to go to the party.
5. Are you afraid to go?
No, I'm afraid not to go.
6. Did they decide to go to Hawaii?
No, they decided not to go to Hawaii.
7. Do you think it's important to worry?
No, I think it's important not to worry.
8. Would it be crazy to write him the news?
No, it'd be crazy not to write him the news.
9. Do you think it's worse to know the truth?
No, I think it's worse not to know the truth.
10. Have they decided to get married?
No, they've decided not to get married.
3. Irregular verbs. Memorize these irregular verb forms. Base form,
Build.
past,
Built.
participle.
Built.
Now repeat.
Build. Built. Built.
Catch, caught, caught.
Cost. Cost. Cost.
Cut, cut, cut.
Grow up. Grew up. Grown up.
lend, lent, lent.
Pay, paid, paid.
Ring, rang, rung.
Set, set, set.
Sit down, sat down, sat down.
Swim, swam, swum.
Teach, taught, taught.
Repeat these sentences.
They haven't set a definite date for the wedding yet.
I'm getting tired. I've sat here for more than 2 hours.
It has cost us $50 for groceries this week. Won't prices ever go down?
Teddy's grown a lot this year. He's almost as tall as his father.
Something must be wrong with our telephone. It hasn't rung all day.
Listen to these exchanges.
Have you ever lent Walter any money?
Yes, I lent him $10 yesterday.
Has Bill cut the grass this week?
Yes, he cut it yesterday.
Have you ever grown corn and tomatoes?
Yes, I grow them every year.
Why are you sneezing so hard?
I think I've caught a cold.
Have you ever swum in the river?
Yes, I've often swum there. It's the best place around.
Is this the first year Mrs. White's taught?
No, she taught math last year, but this is the first time she's taught English.
Let me pay for the tickets.
No, I've already paid for them.
Has Tommy ever built anything?
Yes, he builds airplane models all the time.
Complete the sentences. Listen to the models.
Until we bought this house,
Until we bought this house, we'd never bought one before.
Until we bought this house, we'd never bought one before.
Until we bought this house, we'd never bought one before.
until I spoke to Jenny today.
Until I spoke to Jenny today, I'd never spoken to her before.
Until I spoke to Jenny today, I'd never spoken to her before.
Until I spoke to Jenny today, I'd never spoken to her before.
Now you do the exercise.
Until we bought this house.
Until we bought this house, we'd never bought one before.
Until I spoke to Jenny today.
Until I spoke to Jenny today, I'd never spoken to her before.
Until I caught these fish.
Until I caught these fish, I'd never caught any before.
Until he wrote this book.
Until he wrote this book, he'd never written one before.
Until I went swimming today.
Until I went swimming today, I'd never gone swimming before.
Until we built this house.
Until we built this house, we'd never built one before.
Until she taught last year.
Until she taught last year, she'd never taught before.
Until I flew to London today.
Until I flew to London today, I'd never flown there before.
Until we won this game.
Until we won this game, we'd never won one before.
Until I overslept this morning.
Until I overslept this morning, I'd never overslept before.
Four. That's the way we always travel. That's how we always travel. Repeat.
We went to Montreal by plane.
That's the way we always travel.
Johnny earned money by working in a store.
That's the way he got his new bike.
Helen learned a lot of things by talking to Betty.
That's how she found out about the party.
Repeat the sentence, but substitute how for the way. Listen to the model.
1. That's the way we always travel.
That's how we always travel.
That's how we always travel.
That's how we always travel.
Now you do the exercise.
1. That's the way we always travel.
That's how we always travel.
2. That's the way he got his new bike.
That's how he got his new bike.
3. That's the way she found out about the party.
That's how she found out about the party.
4. Is that the way you told me to fix it?
Is that how you told me to fix it?
5. That's the way he always talks.
That's how he always talks.
6. That's not the way I'd do it.
That's not how I'd do it.
7. That's the way he learned to speak English so well.
That's how he learned to speak English so well.
5. Is that the way they went? Is that how they went? Take the part of speaker B. Follow the models, using the way in each of the questions. Listen.
1. They went to South America by plane.
Is that the way they went?
Is that the way they went?
Is that the way they went?
2. I learned English by listening to the radio.
Is that the way you learned it?
Is that the way you learned it?
Is that the way you learned it?
Now do the exercise.
3. They've decided to go by boat.
Is that the way they've decided to go?
4. Ellie saved a lot of money by making her own clothes.
Is that the way she saved a lot of money?
5. Ted found out by calling his brother.
Is that the way he found out?
6. Tim got a new car by saving his money.
Is that the way he got a new car?
7. Phil celebrated his birthday by giving a big party.
Is that the way he celebrated his birthday?
8. Billy went to sleep by counting sheep.
Is that the way he went to sleep? Do the exercise again. Use how in place of the way.
1. They went to South America by plane.
Is that how they went?
2. I learned English by listening to the radio.
Is that how you learned it?
3. They've decided to go by boat.
Is that how they've decided to go?
4. Ellie saved a lot of money by making her own clothes.
Is that how she saved a lot of money?
5. Ted found out by calling his brother.
Is that how he found out?
6. Tim got a new car by saving his money.
Is that how he got a new car?
7. Phil celebrated his birthday by giving a big party.
Is that how he celebrated his birthday?
8. Billy went to sleep by counting sheep.
Is that how he went to sleep?
6. Answering questions. First, there is a sound on tape. This is followed by a question. Answer the question with a complete answer. This exercise continues on tape.
1. What has Betty been doing all morning?
She's been typing all morning.
2. What was Freddie doing while his sister was talking on the phone?
I think you'll enjoy it. They serve a very nice luncheon there.
He was whistling while his sister was talking on the phone.
3. What were the birds doing when we got up this morning?
They were singing when we got up this morning.
4. What has Tommy been doing all night?
He's been crying all night.
5. Do you think Jim has caught a cold?
Yes, I think he has caught a cold.
6. How can you tell that someone is at the front door?
Because someone's knocking on the front door.
7. Does it sound like the children are walking?
No, it sounds like they are running.
8. Why do you think Mr. Morrison should see a doctor?
Because he's coughing.
9. How did Mr. Mayfield get to New York?
He got to New York by train. 7. So, neither. Construct a third sentence. Use so or neither as in the models.
1. Jane decided to wait until September to get married. Jim decided to wait until September to get married, too.
Jane decided to wait until September to get married, and so did Jim.
Jane decided to wait until September to get married, and so did Jim.
Jane decided to wait until September to get married, and so did Jim.
2. We haven't discussed the idea with him. They haven't discussed the idea with him either.
We haven't discussed the idea with him, and neither have they.
We haven't discussed the idea with him, and neither have they.
We haven't discussed the idea with him, and neither have they.
Now you do the exercise.
3. I've been there. You've been there, too.
I've been there, and so have you.
4. He'd be foolish not to wait. She'd be foolish not to wait, too.
He'd be foolish not to wait, and so would she.
5. Jim doesn't need a haircut. Tom doesn't need a haircut either.
Jim doesn't need a haircut, and neither does Tom.
6. Bill hasn't been swimming recently. I haven't been swimming recently either.
Bill hasn't been swimming recently, and neither have I.
7. Helen could hear the speaker fairly well. Her friend could hear the speaker fairly well, too.
Helen could hear the speaker fairly well, and so could her friend.
End of Lesson 9.